Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bella Gamer, and we're back with another video. Today is a huge one because many of you may already know, but Paizo came out swinging on the first day of GenCon. Their keynote was massive. First and foremost, let me get you guys hooked in. 2 new classes are being added to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which is immense, considering that in the last year we only got 1, which is the kineticist. 2 is pretty huge. Now, we don't know what they are yet, but the playtest for them is going to be on September 1st, and we may even get a sneak peek by the end of GenCon, which I am keeping up to date on, so you guys will get the news as soon as I'm able to get it out to you. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the classes more, but before we get to that, the other piece of big news is Starfinder is moving on to its 2nd edition, which is absolutely crazy considering that they didn't really show any intent last year of doing so. With all the OGL business and the motivation for the orc, I think it was time that Starfinder needed to get upgraded to differentiate itself even further from D&D than it was already before. As many of you might not know, but many of the systems in Starfinder, even those that were innovated from Pathfinder 1st Edition, were still heavily influenced by D&D 3.5. Thus, needing to, legally become a distinct product, something like this was necessary for Paizo. Now, it wasn't necessarily all that. I'm sure they were also pretty eager to upgrade to the 3-action system, which I don't know if you can see here, maybe if I duck down like this. You can see that was a pretty big part of the promotion for Starfinder, but it's just something that's going to be really big. And because it's going to be completely compatible with 2nd edition Pathfinder, that's right, new Starfinder is going to be 100% compatible with Pathfinder 2e, which means there's going to be a whole bunch of crossover kind of content and material, which is going to be absolutely huge. Now, if you are a current Starfinder fan, do not worry, Paizo is still planning on making content for Starfinder over the course of the next 2 years, as the official playtest is not even going to be coming out until next summer. So, that being the case, it's going to be probably even a year after that before they release the official new core books. So you have 2 years to appreciate it. But let's talk about Pathfinder, because I'm sure that's why most of y'all are here. So, Pathfinder has 2 new classes coming out. Now, Michael Sayer, who is one of the people heading these new classes and the new iconics coming out with them, went on to say that the new classes and iconics are going to be something that has not been seen on the face of Golarion before. So, we can safely assume that they are not something that's going to be necessarily from 1st edition Pathfinder. So, I'm sure many of you can commiserate with me that no Inquisitor yet again, which is sad. But the good news is that it's new, fresh ideas. Also, Michael Sayer is such a genius when it comes to the design space of TTRPGs, and has had really good tweets on Twitter talking about all kinds of tabletop theory. Probably one of my favorite developers from Paizo overall. So I'm 100% confident that these new classes are going to not only be awesome, but they're going to be classes that utilize a lot of the system. Granted, let me talk about what I want for the 2 new classes. So for the 2 new classes, I want one, we need more wisdom-based classes. We need classes that utilize wisdom more, as currently there's only cleric, which is very sad. And on the dex end of thing, we only have gunslinger, but a lot of classes at least can take dex as one of them. And rogues technically, default is dex. Granted, they can take everything but con depending on what racket they take. So, a wisdom-based class, and maybe even a dex-based class specifically, would be kind of awesome. But I also kind of want something a little bit more straightforward, a little bit simpler than what's been coming out. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love complexity in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, My favorite classes are the classes that I love to tweak around to see how they can be really awesome. I'm in fact about to start a Kingmaker campaign playing an alchemist, which is pretty huge. But I will say that the last few classes that have come out have been a bit on the higher end of difficulty scales. Magus probably being one of the easiest, and even then, understanding the action economy of Magus and making it so that it feels good to play, I feel gives it a pretty high skill cap in comparison to like Fighter, for instance, which Fighter, it really naturally blends into what style it is through the feats and how their weapon specializations work. So, obviously, Thaumaturge was a very complex class, a lot of different options. Psychic had a lot of moving parts to it. Inventor required a good amount of system knowledge to get the most use out of it. And, well, the Gunslinger has to revolve around the reload mechanic, which is somewhat difficult. Even Summoner has a huge action economy flow that is very important for players to understand. And while these are all great classes and I absolutely love each of them, I do think that to some degree we have been a little bit over spoiled on complex classes, and we need something that's just a little bit more straightforward. Something like Barbarian, something like Fighter, even something kind of like Ranger. Even though Ranger I wouldn't say is completely non-complex, it's at least pretty easy to get a grasp on what the Ranger is about. So a wisdom-based class and a class that's very straightforward are things that I want. What it could be, who knows? I mean, Thaumaturge was not like any class before, but it used the name of a prior prestige class. So, that being the case, I find it very hard to ascribe to like naming an idea for or anything. With all the cool gadgets, gears, items that are being added to the game, I think an item-based class would be very interesting, or another class that is similar to Fighter but utilizes weapons in different ways, I think would be good, or even a class more orientated towards like thrown combat. Like, give me a reason to use javelins, please. Please give me a reason to use javelins. I really want to, but it never feels great because it feels like I'm just wasting my time throwing them, unless they have the returning rune, which becomes a mandatory rune if you want to use thrown weapons, altogether, which just doesn't feel good. I would like something that allows you to use thrown weapons without necessarily needing to make them returning. Something like that, Who knows? I think it's going to be great, and maybe I'll even do another video on my speculations later. There's also the idea that it might be connected to the Starfinder thing, even though that's not coming out until probably a whole year after that, but it might be a bridge, though I think they'll still keep to the general themes of Pathfinder. I think they'll still keep to the general themes of kind of the Tolkien fantasy / kind of like World of Warcraft levels of fantasy. Like, we still have inventors, obviously, and gunslingers, but nothing that really goes beyond that level of technology. I think we'll keep within that for sure. But I do think that they might still have some connections. And the Iconics might even be new ancestries that we're going to see, maybe even some connected to the new Starfinder stuff. In addition, new lore is being changed for the Face of Galarian, as one of the core 20 gods are going to die in the next major story cycle, the next big AP that they're going to go through. So I'm very interested to see how that happens and if any of these classes might be related to that. And considering that we're probably even going to know what these classes are before that stuff even comes out, it might give us a hint as to which god might not be making it. Overall, there's a lot of amazing things going on with Paizo, and that was just day one of the GenCon, and they're still going to be doing the remaster preview on Saturday, which is tomorrow from when I'm recording this, and I'm going to be keeping up on that and get you guys informed as soon as I know anything. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Lead the bad luck to me. And let's see what Paizo has for the rest of Gen Con. I'm very excited. All right. Bye.